I have a trio of stories here that, quite frankly, aren't worth doing an individual video about, so I'm going to kind of combine them all together. First story is from boundinthecomics.com. Netflix's Atlas sees Jennifer Lopez chastised for using wrong pronouns to refer to sentient AI. It talks about in the latest injection of identity politics in the Western media, Netflix's new sci-fi Atlas has been found to feature a scene wherein its titular protagonist, as portrayed by Jennifer Lopez, is lectured on proper pronoun usage by a sentient AI. It actually sounds kind of funny. I won't go into too much about what the story is. They got a link to someone's Twitter post about it if you want to, see it for yourself. But anyway, recalling how Harlan's initial rebellion was facilitated by his initial ability to overwrite the programming of other AIs, including those under control by the IGN, blah, blah, blah. Atlas, which is Jennifer Lopez's character, responds to the news by warning the mission's leader, Colonel Banks and General Jake Booth, that any attempt to fight the AI rather than attempt to eliminate it outright will only result in humanity's own weapons once again being turned against them. Frustrated with the situation, analysts cite the conclusion to their warning and needed coffee. Aiming to put her worries at ease, Banks invites Atlas to accompany him and General Booth to a nearby hangar where their arrival of the group is greeted by a lumbering arc suit as operated by an AI named Zoe, holding the requested cup of coffee. Taken aback by Zoe's offering, Atlas turns to Bank and asks him, "How did it know I wanted coffee?" However, before the colonel is able to respond, Zoe quickly takes offense at Atlas's comment and corrects her. "I'm sorry, but my pronouns are she and her, not it." Lowering his head in exasperation, Banks ultimately reveals that the reason for his confidence in the upcoming story is that Zoe was aware of our conversation because we're synced, thus denying Harlan any room in the AI's brain with which to implant his own code. I don't necessarily have a problem with this scene so far. It's just that apparently the scene just ends right there. Like, this would have been a perfect opportunity for one of the characters, probably the Atlas character, Jennifer Lopez, the main character, to sit there and look at the mech or whatever, the arc suit or whatever the hell you want to call it, and be like, yeah, or play it up for laughs where they're like, my pronouns are she and her, and she should have made some kind of wry comment about it, about how it'll be ridiculous, you're not a living being, or something like that, or didn't even have to do that, but just could be where she turns and starts walking away with somebody else, or even says to herself, makes that comment under her breath, like, you got to be kidding me, or like or she could have just been saying, like, in frustration, you've got to be absolutely joking, or since I guess it's Netflix, she could have said, you got to be shitting me, or whatever. Not a huge deal. They try to make they're kind of making a bigger deal out of it than what it really was. I don't think the scene is that bad. It's just kind of stupid, but whatever. The other story is from Biden in the Comics as well. It's called Mainstream Media Criticizes the Apprentice biopic for making Donald Trump look too sympathetic. I will link all these in the description box if you want to read it. This is a extremely long, because they go through like a lot of the, but basically there's a movie coming out directed by Ali Abazi and starring Marvel action Sebastian Stan in the titular role of the Apprentice, of Donald Trump biopic that sees the former president's early days in real estate under Roy Cohn's wing, who, according to the film synopsis, teaches the young businessman how to amass wealth and power through deception, intimidation, and media manipulation. So not exactly the most fair of all concepts, but whatever. And this goes on and talks about a whole bunch of the mainstream media critics who are just, it's a B, it's a 75 out of 100, it's this, it's that. They all love it and stuff. But there is a point kind of towards the end. Let me see if I get to it. Yeah. The Times, Kevin Mayer gives a film a 7 out of 10. It's difficult to overstate how nuanced Stan is here and how his portrayal of Trump evolves in physical gestures and familiar mannerisms, saying loser without becoming an Alec Baldwin-style caricature. If there's any problem with Stan's iteration of Trump, especially in the early sequences, it's that he's almost too sympathetic, much like Josh Brolin's gentle George W. Bush and Oliver Stone's W. The review goes on. Later adds sympathy for the Donald, however, only lasts so long as his shady deals continue and his vanity metastasizes. The formerly hollow man is consumed by his own megalomania. But basically, the point of it is they all praise the movie because it's very much anti-Trump and making him look horrible and stuff. But this guy's got to say, oh, he's almost too sympathetic and stuff. And it's like, because you got an actor in the movie comparing Trump to Hitler and Mao and all these, terrible dictators and despots throughout the world or throughout history who have been responsible for world wars, millions of deaths and so on and such forth. And not to get too political, but it's like this is very much a you know people showing their bias essentially. You know, because they even bring up that like, well, they had done a similar kind of biopic called Barry about Barack Obama and blah blah blah, and they praised it because it was a lot more forgiving of anything that things he did wrong and so on and so forth, or try to play it out like, oh, he did nothing wrong, he never had anything terrible, blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah. It's extremely long, so I mean you can read this if you want. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you want to see the movie and unless you're interested in what these people think. I really don't care what most of these critics have to say, but anyway, the other story is more about an IGN tweet. Good old IGN always. They took a break from constantly tweeting about Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows being a legendary samurai to say Stellar Blade has clinched the top spot of the April games or April sales chart, though it's the lowest sales to lead in April since Prototype 2. It's like, Jesus. It's like, as a person here says, they're absolutely seething. They absolutely are. Like, you hate Stellar Blade that much that because they never do this. They never sit there and say, it's clinched the top spot, though it's the lowest sales to lead that month since fill in the blank. They never do that kind of stuff. But they're doing it for this game because even though it's had its own controversies with the whole wokeness and censorship and all that kind of stuff, it's had its own controversies. But it's still one of those ones where it's like, well, how do we complain about this game that has a sexy woman as the lead character who was in part designed by an actual sexy woman in real life, or just woman, I guess I should say. I don't want to, but anyway. So, how do we make it seem like this is misogyny and this is the male gaze? And how do we do all that stuff? And how do we make it seem like the only people playing the game are basement dwellers and yada, yada, yada and stuff? Like I said, you don't see this kind of stuff for the other months in which they've had similar situations or stuff. You don't see this kind of like commentary. This is supposed to be like a news post. Stellar Blade has clinched the top spot of the April sales chart. Boom, that's it. Leave your little opinion about it's the lowest sales to lead in April since Prototype 2. Almost like we're supposed to be clapping for that or something. Like, what the hell? What am I supposed to do with this information? Am I supposed to be happy? Am I supposed to be mad? Am I supposed to be sad? Tell me what to do. I'm just a dumbass consumer. I have no opinions of my own. I'm here to parrot whatever you tell me to. I guess that's what they want. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But like I said, I'll link all this stuff in the description box. You can read it for yourself. Like I said, the Atlas stuff, I don't really think that was that big of a deal. I do think it was a lost potential for like a humorous moment or whatever of her just being like shaking her head and being like, "You got to be shitting me." The whole premise, I just think it was funny that they're all praising this movie because it makes, it makes Trump look bad. But then, he almost looks too sympathetic at some point. It's like, well, he is a human being. But anyway, then of course the stuff with Stellar Blades, like like I said, IGN, because they've constantly been posting. I'm talking like every day, sometimes multiple times a day, something about Yasuke, the legendary black Japanese samurai, and blah 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 and stuff. But so they took a break from that to post this. Yeah, didn't go too well for them, at least in my opinion. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you very much for watching.